Christopher Nolan directs your more than normal Batman film, as an excellent cast comprising of Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Liam Neeson, Katie Holmes, Gary Oldman and Morgan Freeman star in a much needed Batman reboot. But although it's a very solid effort and perfectly sets up a sequel, it falls a little short in minor departments. It's a classic Batman storyline, with the raw message being how Bruce rises from rock bottom to be the elusive Cape Crusader that we've all grown to know and love. The main difference in the film is the addition of Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul as the two main antagonists, which seems to breathe new life into a franchise starved of ideas. Add in a pointless love story and a kick-ass climax, and you've got yourself a pretty solid Batman film. Performances throughout the film are great, but the direction is sometimes too cliched. Then again, most superhero films follow the basic Hollywood-esque storyline. The casting is fantastic, with Michael Caine as Alfred a perfect fit. The typical English stiff upper lip shines through his character, and even though he wasn't the main role, both he and Morgan Freeman captivated me with every word they spoke. However, despite the fact that he put on a magnificent show, Morgan Freeman's character, Lucius Fox, doesn't seem to quite fit into the story. It's almost as if they asked Morgan Freeman if he wanted to be in the film, he agreed, and then they put him in as an ill-fitting part, just so the film had Morgan Freeman in it. The script at times is quite bad, with certain lines being laughably cliched, moreover as Batman and Ra's al Ghul. Christian Bale and Liam Neeson's performances were top class, and seeing them in other films justifies that opinion. But some of the lines they had to say were just plain bad. But what was I expecting? It's a superhero film. But there's definitely a firm line that was crossed with the script at some points. I'm surprised that they weren't saying the lines through gritted teeth at times. Gary Oldman puts in a strong performance with his portrayal of Jim Gordon before his commissioner days, and the general idea of an origin story fits in very well. The inclusion of Gordon proves very important. Gordon was the only cop who believed Batman was helping Gotham, and as his and Batman's trust grows, an at first seemingly useless character grows in value, and eventually plays a vital part in advancing the plot, unlike Rachel Dawes, Bruce's childhood friend, where the director sets up a meaningless and petty love story which only exists to drag out the film more. Christopher Nolan's much darker approach to the Batman film paid off, showing the gritty, harsh reality of failure, and how Batman's task seemed that little bit more difficult. Even Tim Burton, director of Batman in 1989, said that Nolan
captured the real spirit that these kind of movies are supposed to have nowadays. When I did Batman 20 years ago, it was a different time in comic book movies. You couldn't go into that dark side of comics yet. The last couple of years that had become acceptable, and Nolan certainly got more to the root of what Batman comics are about.
The use of camera angles in the film were quite odd, as when the fight scenes occurred, the camera is too close up and too shaky. Don't get me wrong, shaky cam is considered necessary in modern action films, and when pulled off, works extremely well. However, the cinematography in these action scenes is slightly too extreme, and detracts from the amazing choreography. The use of this has been included in The Hunger Games, and to critical reception, but the difference between the two films is that in The Hunger Games, shaky cam is used way too often, especially in motion scenes, whereas in Batman, the shaky cam and close-up cams during fight scenes only appears twice or three times during the 141 minutes of running time. At 141 minutes, this film is by no means short, and the first 60 of those minutes are filled with Bruce's backstory. Even though it tells the tale of how his revenge was sparked, and how his childhood fear of bats materialised, this hour is dragged out way too long for a story that most people know already. This makes the main plot seem a little rushed, and as Batman is not introduced until about an hour through, the beginning of the film is quite drawn out. Let's remember though, that this is an origin story, and so people shouldn't expect non-stop action, and in fairness, Christopher Nolan does a pretty good job with the source material, even if Batman doesn't truly begin until just shy of the hour mark. Overall, Batman Begins is a perfectly legitimate effort to revitalise the Batman saga, and is capped off by a magnificent and dramatic score by James Newton Howard and Hans Zimmer, giving you goosebumps many a time throughout its duration, and matching the new, darker Batman genre superbly. It is regarded by many as the greatest superhero film ever made, and it changed the way modern superhero films are made. And so, even though I had a few things wrong with this film, they were just minor nitpicks. So I conclude that Batman Begins is a very enjoyable film, and I for one cannot wait until I get my hands on the sequel involving the Joker. Hello, and thank you so much for watching my first video. It's been a long time coming, and you know I sat down over the past week and I finished it, and it's a great feeling really. So why don't you check out Jack and Tom, who review games and films, And we also kind of have a podcast we do sometimes. It's called The Daily Crate, and we should hopefully be recording more in the near future. Once again, thanks for watching, and if you like what you saw, hit subscribe.